Today I'm extending my design by creating a double-sided tag. Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. I'm here on the Altenew YouTube channel on the first and third Saturday of the month. So if you enjoy my videos, I'd love for you to subscribe. So let's get started. This is the Bloom and Evolve stamp set and also the die set. Really cute images. I absolutely love the little bee, and that's what I'm going to be using today along with some flowers. So I'm taking a piece of white cardstock, popping that into the stamp wheel, and then I can take the images off of the stamp set. So I'm using the adorable bee and then also one of the sets of flowers. I really love the mushroom as well, but I didn't think I could quite manage it for the design, so I'm going to use that another time. I'm placing them down onto the white cardstock. I can then bring in the top flip plate of the stamp wheel, pop that in place to pick up those stamps, then I can flip it over and ink up the images. And I'm using permanent black ink today. This is the old formulation, the crisp dye ink. I don't have the new fresh dye ink one yet. And so my ink is running out of ink, basically. My ink pad is running out of ink, but I don't want to re-ink it. Well, I don't have a re-inker. I don't want to get a re-inker for it because I'm going to just change it over to the fresh dye ink formula, but I haven't managed to get hold of it yet. So I am having to stamp these images multiple times. I do it 3 times, to be honest with you. I probably could have done with a 4th. The lines are quite light. They're not kind of nice dark crisp black, which is what I would usually prefer, but actually for these images I think that it worked out okay. So like I said, I'm going to stamp these 3 times, just lining it back up. And the great thing about the stamp wheel is you can stamp it multiple times if you need to. I do want 2 lots of the flowers, so I'm going to flip over the cardstock and then stamp them again. I don't need the bee image again, but you know, just in case I mess up on the colouring or something like that, I may as well just stamp it along with the other set of flowers. So again, just inking those up multiple times, pressing that down in the stamp wheel to get a nice impression. And the permanent black ink is alcohol marker friendly, which is why I'm using it today, so that I can colour the images using artist alcohol markers. I'm starting off with some yellows for the bee, and I'm using the Pocket Full of Sunshine colour collection. So I'm going in with the darkest shade here, which is Honey Drizzle, and I apologise that I didn't show the cap on the screen. For all of the rest of the markers, I do bring it in the cap so you can see which colour I'm using as I'm using it, but I completely forgot on this first colour. But I'm just adding the darker colour towards the top and the bottom of the bee. I'm trying to make it look like it's quite rounded, so the darker colour would naturally sort of be at the top and at the bottom, and then the lighter colour would be sort of where it's most rounded. I do also want to add in yellow for the centres of the flower, so I might as well do that at the same time. I can now go in with the next shade of yellow, and this is Maple Yellow. And sometimes with these colour collections of the artist alcohol markers, some of them are very close in shade, which is really helpful because you can get a really nice blend, and sometimes they're a little bit further apart, so it just depends on the actual colours. So this one isn't too bad, but for some of them I do go over the areas multiple times. So I can now bring in kind of like a mid shade, which is the Fresh Lemon. And I'm just going over where I've already been and extending the colour out further into the image. But as I go lighter with the colours, I then don't go over the same amount of area. I just tend to go over where I've done the last lot of colour. So I can just fill in all of the gaps there with the lightest Citrus Burst. I can then go in with black for the black areas. So this is Jet Black to start with. I can then go in with some grey tones, and these are the Gentleman's Grey collection. So just going in with the 3 shades of the grey here, again going in darker at the top and the bottom, and then having sort of like a highlight in the centre. So I can just finish off with that silver lake there. And then for the wings, I wanted them to be sort of aqua toned, so I'm using the Sweet Dreams set of markers. So I used Aqualicious and Dewdrops, and then I wanted the lightest colour to kind of fade into the colour of the cardstock, so the white of the cardstock. So I'm using the colourless blender there just to fade that out. And then for the flowers, I'm starting off with the purple one, and I'm adding the darker colour towards the centre of these petals here. So I'm using the Enchanted Garden collection of colours. So I'm starting off with Andromeda. I can then bring in the ultraviolet and blend that out. And then the hydrangea. And for this colour, I'm going to try and do it so that I'm sort of making the same shape as the petals, so that when I add the lighter colour on top, if it doesn't blend that well, I'm still just going to have kind of like a nice colour transition because I've got the shape of the flower. I hope that makes sense. So this one here, the lightest shade and the second lightest shade are quite a lot different in terms of like colour saturation. The lighter is quite a lot lighter, so I did take a few layers for me to try and get a nice blend that way. I'm next going in with the coral tones. These are the Tea Party colours. So starting off again with the darkest shade, going in here with like a mid-tone and then a lighter mid-tone, and then again this one I'm kind of using the shape of the flower for the colouring. And then I can go in with the lightest shade and fill in the gaps. And these ones are really close in shade, so I didn't have to do too much blending. I did end up getting a little bit of the purple bleed into this flower, but the great thing about alcohol markers is you can kind of push the colour back to where it came from. So I went over that area a couple of times just to really kind of push that purple back into that flower, and it did work quite nicely. So now for the pink, I'm using the Cherry Blossom colours. So again, starting with the darkest, then moving up towards the lightest. And then I can finish off here with the lightest pink diamond colour. And I am colouring in the other bunch of flowers as I go, but I missed that off camera because I didn't think you need to see me colouring them in twice. And then I can finish off with the leaves, and I'm using the Green Valley colours for this. So again, starting off with the darkest colour, and I'm having the darkest colour to be where the kind of leaves meet the petals of the flowers. So I can then go in with the darkest mid shade, followed by the lightest mid shade, and then finish off with the lightest shade at the tips of those leaves. Once I'd finished the colouring, I did cut my panel in two, just for ease of use to do the die cutting. So I've got the Bloom and Evolve die set. I can place the dies over the images and then hold them down with some low tack tape. I can then run that through my die cutting machine and pop out the images. And I just need to die cut that other set of flowers as well. I've then cut two tags from the Terrific Tags die set from white cardstock, and I can place them down onto my sticky mat to do some ink blending on top. I'm going to do the ink blending for both of them at the same time because I do want them to match. I'm taking the new Aqua Island Fresh Dye Ink collection, and I'm using the two middle shades. I felt that the lightest shade was a little bit more on the green side for what I wanted, so I'm using the two middle shades. So I'm starting off with Paul, and I'm using a small blending brush, and I'm focusing most of the colour towards the top of the tag and then lightening up the pressure with the brush as I go down the tag to fade to the white of the cardstock. So this is going to create my sky. And then I can do the same thing for the other tag. And like I said, I do want them to look pretty similar in terms of how much saturation of colour and how far the colour goes down the tags. because I want my design to kind of extend to the back of the tag so that it kind of looks like it's sort of following on from the rest of the design. So I can now go in with the Mystic Lake colour and just adding a little bit of that towards the top of the tags, just to darken up the top of the sky a little bit. These colours blend so beautifully together. I just think they're so very pretty. And I didn't have to do too much blending here because they just blend really nicely together. So that's the tags finished. I'm going to pop one of them back into the stamp wheel so that I can stamp a sentiment. And I'm using the stamp that says grow and evolve. I thought it would be quite nice as kind of like a bit of an encouragement sentiment. So I can bring in the top flip plate of the stamp wheel again, pick up that stamp, flip that over, and this time I'm going to ink up the sentiment using Obsidian pigment ink. I don't need this to be alcohol marker friendly, so I'm using the pigment ink here. So I can ink that up really well, and then I can stamp that down onto the tag. I'm then going to take the flowers and I'm going to add a little bit of removable adhesive onto the back of them so that I can place them down towards the bottom of the tag. I want to sort of place them down first so that I can cut off the excess before I permanently adhere them down. So I'm kind of just wiggling them in place here, and then bringing in the second one so that I can pop that behind. So it kind of looks like there's sort of an abundance of flowers there towards the bottom of the tag. Once I'm happy with the placement, I can flip over that tag and then I can cut away the excess. I'm using scissors here, but you could definitely do this with a guillotine or a paper trimmer as well. I find it easier to cut from the back because you've got that line of the tag there. So I can just go along that line and cut off the excess. And then I'm going to add a little bit of removable tape onto the back of the bee as well, so that I can pop him in place. I then want to make it look like he's sort of flying towards the flowers, and I thought it would be quite nice to make kind of like a little trail for him. So I'm taking a pencil and I'm just drawing a very faint line here of kind of like dashed lines to make it look like he's sort of flown in from the side of the tag. Once I'm happy with how that looks, I can bring in a black fine liner pen and then I can go over those lines. I didn't completely match up the lines perfectly, but I just wanted kind of like a general shape of where I was going to add them. I then want to bring in the other tag and line them both up so that I can see where the trail would end up on the other tag. So then I can extend that further. I do end up just kind of doing it in a little bit of a circular shape. In hindsight, I wish I would have extended it a little bit further. I think that that would have looked quite nice. But I do add kind of like another little trail here on the right hand side as well, making it kind of like there was another bee or something like that there. I can then carefully just remove the pencil marks with an eraser. Just being careful not to press too hard. I don't want to erase any of that ink blending. I can now add some glue tape onto the back of the back tag, or the tag that's going to be in the back, I should say. And then I can pop the other tag on top. So now they're sort of sandwiched back to back. And the design from the front of the tag kind of goes on towards the back of the tag. I thought that that was a cute idea. I'm then taking the eyelet piece from the Labels and Tags 2-die set, and this one kind of looks like it's in the shape of a flower, so I thought it would be quite cute to add to the top of the tag. So I've cut that twice from some white cardstock, and I can place that over the top of the tag there where the hole is. The hole in this kind of eyelet piece is a little bit smaller than the whole of the tag, so I do just want to make sure that I add one to the back as well to cover that up. So once I add this one on the back, he's going to line up with the front one, and you're not going to know that they were slightly different sizes. I can then remove the flowers carefully from the bottom, and I can add some instant dimension foam tape onto the back of those. So I'm just cutting small pieces of the foam tape down. I can remove the backings, and then I can place that down onto the edge of the tag here. And then I can just do the same thing for the other set of flowers. And then the same for the bee as well. And I just think he looks so cute, sort of flying down towards those flowers. And I did think about maybe extending the design even further by adding the other part of the flowers, but I didn't know if it would look a little bit lopsided, maybe. I wasn't 100% certain, so let me know in the comments whether you think I should have added the flowers or not. I decided not to in the end, but I could go back and maybe add some other flowers, like maybe stamp and colour the image again, but maybe not have it across the whole of the bottom of the back of the tag. But I do think this isn't going to be a tag that I'm necessarily going to write on. I feel like it's maybe going to be a tag that maybe I sort of send more as a keepsake to someone. I think that that would be really nice. So I've threaded some twine through the top of the tag and tied that in a bow there at the front. And I'm just fiddling with the size of the bow here to get it exactly how I want it. And then I can cut off those tails. And as I'm cutting off the tails, I do tend to try and manipulate the twine a little bit just to get it to go where I want it to go. And that is the tag finished for today. I really love that the design sort of follows on from the front and then to the back of the tag as well. Like I say, I may add some flowers there at the bottom. I'm not 100% certain. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Altenew blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.